This video sets out to portray good sweep or rowing technique as it is practiced by successful crews. While not all crews row in an identical fashion, the fundamentals of good technique are always present, and minor differences of emphasis and detail between one crew and another do not alter the underlying principles. Sweep or rowing also demands a uniformity of technique and movement within the crew, and this harmony enhances the essential rhythms and smoothness of the movements. The rowing cycle is continuous, and before we look at the individual parts of the stroke and individuals working, let's first watch the whole movement in the crew and see how its smoothness and ease enhance the power, how the loose, relaxed movement onto the front stop permits the sharp onset of power into the water in what looks to be such an easy movement. This establishes the essential rhythms of rowing. Without the rhythm, relaxation in the forward movement becomes difficult. Timing is upset, and the power in the water suffers. Here you see the pair working similarly. The work in the water is sharp. See how quickly the blade is covered and the power produced on the end of the spoon. But watch too the smooth continuity of movement forward, how easy and graceful everything is, and how that easy movement forward permits the correct posture to be adopted at the front stop and allows the power to be applied strongly and economically. We can now look at the movement of the individual oarsman in greater detail. And here you see him just finishing the stroke, his hands moving away from the backstop position, hands reaching out, bringing the body over steadily. He's over his knees, and his knees then begin to rise. He continues reaching forward with his arms and his body following, and he arrives smoothly and easily onto that front stop position. Look at that position. He's strong, he's well extended, head up, shins upright, shoulders forward, arms reaching round, his back firm on his thighs, his outside arm through his knees. His blades are now square and wrists flat. He lifts his hands to take the catch, driving with his legs as soon as the blades connected, legs down, back opening, shoulders drawing in one continuous acceleration to the finish. There is again his backstop position, head up, back firm, both arms drawn back, legs down hard, really secure and strong. The outside hand taps down and the inside hand feathers, keeping the button pressed out, and the outside hand leads as the upper body leads over, so the pelvis rocks over into a strong position. At the half slide forward, the body has already reached well over as it needs to be at the catch, and all he has to do now is slide, let the boat run under him and slide, and the outside hand goes round the pin and the body rotates to bring him into the front stop position. Now we can see the action from the outside shoulder side, and same front stop position, looking strong from this side too, shins vertical, head up, well reached over the thighs and through the outside knee, and hold position strong and secure, so that he can ready to take that catch. And you see his hands lift. The blade is covered quickly. The initial drive then comes from the legs, and the back is held firm against that drive, and you can see the drive connected through the back as the oarsman hangs his weight on the oar. The leg drive goes down in one piece, and as the leg drive moves towards completion, the arms and shoulders continue the acceleration of the blade. He sits back and draws in the outside arm and shoulder. The upper body is fixed as the arm draw finishes, and you see he sits tall, the outside elbow, wrist, all in a straight line, parallel with the water. Back firm, head up, in a strong position. He taps the oar down with the outside hand and carries the blade forward, parallel to the water, sustaining the balance of the boat. The pelvis rocks over as the hands lead out, and the rower will feel the weight on his feet and can move forward on the slide with confidence. It's important that the weight of the rower moves continuously and smoothly throughout the recovery to enhance the run of the boat and not cause any unnecessary disturbance. As he approaches the front stop, the outside arm moves inside the knee as the rower rotates around the pin to the front stop position, and he's there ready again to continue the strokes. We now need to consider the separate roles of the two hands. Here we have the outside hand, whose main role is to support the weight of the oar, to determine the height of the handle, both in the power phase and the recovery, and also to act as the main link between the power in the back and legs and the handle of the oar. Here you see it drawing with flat wrists, drawing into the body at the right height to keep the boat level, and at this point his job is to tap the blade down to clear the blade from the water, and then to hold it at a steady height parallel to the water at the correct height, so that when he reaches the front stop, the blade is in the right position to be squared, ready for the entry. Now we can see the two hands working together. The inside hand is mainly concerned with the feathering and squaring of the blade, and here you see at the front stop the wrist flat, blade squared, and the outside hand still loose on the blade, and that outside hand will grip tightly as the blade goes into the water, and both arms now are drawing, wrists flat, and as you draw into the finish, so the inside hand feathers as the outside hand taps the blade down, and the wrist drops on the inside hand, and as the blade moves away, the thumb of the inside hand loosens to allow the wrist to flatten and relax, so that on the way forward the two hands are both loose and relaxed, allowing the upper arms and shoulders to relax as the blade goes forward on the feather. Here is the outside hand that's controlling the height. As it comes on, however, towards the front stop, so the grip on the inside hand firms, and the blade is rolled into the palm of the hand, and the blade is turned onto the square as it comes onto the front stop. Once more, the outside hand takes control, grips the blade as it lifts, and brings the oar into the water, The power phase begins. The wrists are flat. This time the inside wrist is a little bit cocked at this point, but it should be much flatter. Drawing home with the outside hand, taps the blade down again. The inside wrist drops, feathering the blade, begins to move out, loosens its grip so that the wrist becomes flat again, and the cycle begins once more. Now we can perhaps just look for a moment at what actually happens to the blade. This is Stroke's blade, squared, poised, ready for the catch. The height above the water determined primarily by the outside hand, and the outside hand lifts to push the blade into the water to the correct depth. Power applied from the feet, and the opening of the back develops the puddle through to the finish where the outside hand drops to lift the blade out, and the inside hand turns so that the blade feathers, comes forward with the outside hand controlling the height of that blade above the water, and now the inside hand squares the blade ready for the next catch. Watch now how the blade picks up the water and accelerates the wall of water in front of it right the way through to the finish, building, 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 accelerating the boat right to the finish, where the lovely hole behind the spoon allows the clean extraction of the blade. The catch is fundamentally important to the way in which the boat moves, and you will see that the blade enters very quickly, covering very quickly, and the power applied almost immediately from the legs, and the power is developed as the legs, back and arms work in coordination right through to the very finish. And a quiet, easy movement forward, setting the boat up ready for the next power phase. And it locks quickly, covering the blade, the power applied, and it's most important that power is not applied from the stretcher until the blade is covered. And then you can see the way in which the water is building up on the face of the spoon. See how the oar is bending at this point, and the wall of water is there right at the very finish. Nice square extraction, and so the boat moves on. Now we'll see how the pair is achieving the same thing. You'll see, just watch Matthew's blade here, how quickly it's locking into the water, how solidly the puddle's building right from the catch. Being achieved in the same way, hands lift to cover the blade, power applied from the feet, the back opens, and as the drive is completed by the outside shoulder drawing back and the arm drawing in, finishing the acceleration of the blade right to the finish. One solid acceleration, no check, catch to finish. The water building solidly on the spoon all the way. Now we see Steve's blade, absolutely covered at the right depth, solid wall of water building in front of the spoon. Blade covered where he reaches, roaring solid puddle right through to the very finish. So see how accurately he has got the depth of blade. They are covering, not too deep. See through the very, very clear water, you can just see the tip of the top of the spoon. But it's absolutely solid there in the water. No great splashing or commotion into the catch, despite the power that's being applied. It's most important that this catch is picked up very quickly, and but the power is not applied to the footboard until the blade is covered. If the power is applied too soon, then the boat will check, and you can see this by watching the bow of the boat. You'll see how smoothly this one runs. This can be all important in the race situation. Just watch the bows of these two boats, Canadian 4 in lane 5 and the Chinese in lane 2. See how smoothly the Canadian's boat is running, and see the checks on the bow of the Chinese boat. The Canadians went through to win. With the catch well locked, it is important that the available power is applied in the best way through the stroke. So let us look first at the optimum force time curve to see where we best want to place our power. This diagram shows the power applied through the stroke compared with the angle which the oar makes to a boat. This is an optimum curve, and there is a rapid but smooth build of power from the catch, reaching a single peak when the oar is at about 75 degrees to the boat. That is some 15 degrees before it is at the right angle point. There is then a fall off in power as the blade completes its finishing arc. You can compare this shape with the following diagram, where the work is applied very hard at the catch and then falls off very rapidly. And here the work is so much power is put on early in the stroke, where the arc of the blade is inefficient, that the boat speed is not built adequately, and there's not enough power left then to sustain the acceleration through the important mid part of the stroke, and it tails off down to the bottom at its finish, and the boat has received a very hefty jolt at the catch, from which it is very difficult to recover. And now we see the alternative, where the power is built too slowly, and with every effort made to give the boat a very hard finish, but unfortunately the power is applied too slowly, and the boat speed can't be built up enough in that last desperate part of the stroke and in the finishing arc, so that again we have an inefficiency in the way in which the power is being applied. So how is the optimum power curve to be achieved? It is done by good coordination of the main muscle groups, and everything starts from a strong, well-balanced front stop position. Then the blade is covered as the seat arrives on the front stop, and the initial drive comes from the legs with the lower back held firm. The drive is then continued, and the back opens as the leg drive is pushed down, and the outside and the whole drive is connected through the back and the shoulders into the handle, through particularly through the outside arm. And as the legs finish their drive and the back is beginning to reach beyond the vertical so that the arms and shoulders continue the draw into the body, with the outside hand drawing the blade exactly to the right position, and the body weight is held back and the back firm and tall, while the outside arm and the outside elbow is back behind the body, and the whole forearm is parallel to the water, giving you a firm and strong backstop position. Let's watch this once again, and you will see how the muscle groups combine with each other to give the maximum power in the right place through the stroke. The legs thrust down, and the back bins open, the oars at 75 degrees, and as the legs finish, so that the arms and shoulders draw in and continue to accelerate the blade to the finish. It's a beautiful, smooth, coordinated movement, and ensures that the pressure is applied to the oar handle in one continuous draw. And you will see, as that blade passes the optimum point, how well the legs and back are working together to bring the maximum power at the right point. There. You see the same pattern of movement in women, both heavyweight and lightweight. And here you see Kathleen Heddle, Olympic champion in pairs and eights. And again, the same strong position at the front stop, drive initiated from the legs, good use of the back, and long drawing with the arms and shoulders. She has long arms, and she tends to leave the start of the draw a little bit late, but the same coordination of leg and back is giving her that maximum power in just the right place in the water. You'll see the oar bend just at that critical moment. It's a beautiful movement, and she achieving very great economy of action, as well as maximizing the effectiveness of her power output by bringing it to a maximum just at the right point through the stroke. You see the way the puddle is building round the spoon. You'll see the bow girl, Marnie McBean, tends to drive her legs a little bit faster, and nevertheless manages to maintain much the same power phasing as her partner. Now you see the British lightweight 4, and in the centre is Amory Stapleton, and again you will see the same way in which the whole body and legs are moving together to achieve that maximum power before the right angle, and you will see her blade bend as it comes up to that point. The conditions were very rough and difficult at this time. That's why her blade's well above the water, but you see there the bend coming and through the midpoint and away. Efficient boat moving requires a long, and it is essential that not only is the stroke long in the water, but also that the arc is appropriately distributed about the right angled point. This chart shows typical arcs for men. You will see that the part of the arc behind the right angle at the finish is generally of the order of 36 degrees, while the arc in front of the right angle is greater, around 45 degrees in the case of club oarsmen and 54 degrees for international class oarsmen, obviously varying with the size, strength and skill of the rower, so that a top class international oarsman could be rowing a total arc of around 90 degrees. The arcs for women show a similar picture. The greater part of the arc is at the front end of the stroke, ranging from 45 degrees to 49 degrees in front of the pin, giving total arcs between 80 and 85 degrees. These suggested angles should not be sought by overreaching, particularly at the front stop. And remember that a good front stop position is essential to achieve a successful entry and power phase, and overreaching will only damage that. Adjustments to rig, for example changing the stretcher position or the span, can sometimes be used to give a greater uniformity of forward angle in a crew boat, where individuals are of different sizes. In order to achieve these angles, the rower has to follow the arc which the oar handle describes around the rowing pin. The outside hand flows round the pin towards the catch, the outside shoulder is extended, and the inside arm straight but relaxed, and the body rotates at the waist to follow the arc made by the oar handle. There you see the position at the catch, and of course it's important that the inside hand maintains the pressure against the pin to prevent the oar being pulled away from the pin through the stroke. At the finish, it's also important that the body conforms, although in lesser degree, to the handle of the oar. The outside arm is drawing back strongly, and the elbow back behind the body, and the body just conforms that little bit to allow that handle to come in comfortably. It's important that the inboard length of the oar is such as to enable this movement to be made comfortably and easily. Now let's look at this from another angle. Here you will see that as the outside hand flows forward, it crosses over that outside knee, so that at the catch the outside arm is over the gap between the knees, and the inside hand is on the rigger side of the inside leg. Just watch as you come round again. you have to get that outside arm around over the knee. You'll see how this is achieved in the racing situation. See how level the shoulders are as she comes forward. Although there's a little outward pressure on that rigger, the shoulders are essentially level. And the easy flow forward brings her round the pin to a good length. And you can see from the sideways shot of the same rower that she's not overreached on that front stop, but in firm, secure position, although rotated round. And you'll see at the back stop similarly how he sits back with a firm back, and that's just conforms to the angle of the oar handle there. And you can compare the body angles at the front stop and the back stops with those used by the lightweights, and also here by the heavyweight pair. It is important that the recommended angles are not sought by overreaching at the catch, which will inevitably lead to a poor power phase, nor by sitting back too far at the finish, since this will lead to a disturbance in the smooth flow forward and also lead to burying the bow of the boat as the weight of the crew is pressed back into the bow. It is desirable to keep the movement up and down of the center of gravity to the minimum, since if there is movement up and down, it will cause greater wave formation and retard the boat, and it will also lead to use of energy which does not move the boat forward. Just watch the pair and you will see how horizontal the drive is and how little up and down movement there is in their bodies during the stroke. It is also important that the power is applied equally to both sides of the boat. Not only must the catches be timed exactly together, but the power applied through the stroke symmetrically, and so that the finishes are drawn out together and the water released in the same way on the two sides. Failure to do this means that the boat will wiggle as it goes through the stroke, and the boat will slow in consequence. This is as important in the 8 as it is in the pair, even though the greater length of the boat makes keeping it straight much easier. Nevertheless, the coxswain should be able to keep the boat straight with a very minimum of intervention when the boat is both paddling or under full power in a race. If the boat is not running straight, then attention has to be paid to how the power is being applied on the two sides, which brings us back to the all-important issue of rhythmic harmony. Just once again, the smooth, graceful harmony of this movement forward. See how smooth and graceful the hands are around the turn, uninterrupted movement, the speed in harmony with the pace of the boat, and the whole movement so graceful and relaxed, so that the maximum of power is being achieved and the whole rhythm of the boat is being set up there. 7 and stroke working together so that the timing becomes inbuilt, and by making it firm and solid here, the whole can be spread back through the boat so that everyone is confident that the movement is absolutely bound together in one sweet harmony. This quality of technique cannot be achieved unless care has been taken to rig the boat correctly, both for the crew as a whole and for each individual oarsman. An athlete cannot move properly unless his position in the boat is right in every detail. Many faults in technique stem from inappropriate rigging. For example, the rower cannot relax on the movement forward if the height of his feet is wrong, or the angle of his stretcher is too steep. Nor can he apply the power correctly in the water if the pitch of the blade is not accurately set. The riggers in this boat were set quite low, and this was appropriate for the skill of the crew and helped them in the economical application of their power. Only if the detail of the rig is appropriate for the individual athlete and the crew as a whole can you achieve the smoothness of movement and blend of power and relaxation which is essential for good boat moving. This rhythm has to stand up to the rigours of racing in the last dramatic moments of the final at the World Championships, and then you know you've got it well embedded into the crew. And the reward is on the medal rostrum. Similarly, only well-controlled technique and fine-paced judgment could have allowed Redgrave and Pinsent to mount such a tremendous surge in the last 500 meters to hold off the competition and remain champions. The lightweight four similarly fights its way home and only narrowly misses the gold. The technique is there, together with the fine racing spirit of this crew. We've been watching 4 different crews in this video: heavyweight men, lightweight men, heavyweight women, lightweight women, all using very similar technique, and the successes enjoyed by these crews underline the soundness of the principles of technique which they use. This video was produced by Ron Needs in cooperation with the coaches and athletes of the crews concerned. Now you may like to watch some of the video that I took and enjoy the smooth movement and the delight of seeing world-class athletes working at their best.